Welcome to the Wynn's Kitchen podcast. I'm your host, Wynn Austin, founder and CEO of Wynn's Kitchen. Join me on this journey as I learn how to grow my CPG food brand that started right from my kitchen. So today I'm so excited to chat with my guest, Jordan Karcher. He's the founder of Eileen, a brand new app that helps consumer product brands like myself grow and manage our products in retail stores. Hi, Jordan. How are you?
Hi, Wynn. I'm great. How are you?
Good. So Jordan, I just learned about your app through a friend of mine, and I know it's brand new. Can you first tell us a little bit about like your background and what did you do before you started Eileen?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up around the wine and spirits business, so my whole life
Mm-hmm.
has been pretty well immersed in the CPG and beverages space. Um,
Mm-hmm.
After spending my first kind of wave of my career working in the wine industry, I was in Sonoma. Eventually, I was running Southern California for a couple wine brands, and then I was heading back to get my MBA. And in that time period, I had started a small little similar CPG startup coffee company called Grounds and Mountain
Mm-hmm.
Coffee Co. Bootstrapped it, sold some furniture, started a little website. I was doing it out of my grad school spare bedroom, and it took off. But
Mm-hmm.
I kind of, I've been on both sides. I've worked with big brands in retail. I've worked
Right.
with mid-sized private companies, public companies, and then I had my own, which went from zero to about 10 million, and then we got acquired by a private equity group.
Wow.
I did it for the first 4 or 5 years. It was a one-person show, just me.
Wow.
Doing e-com as well as retail. And so I've felt the pain points of what does it take to grow something from the ground up, um, through, 0 to 1 and then scale. And then at the same time,
Right.
after you get to a certain level, what are the challenges as you start to compete with the big boys and have to
Right.
learn how to kind of execute at the same level. So my whole history in life in the retail world has been, I've done it from the bottom up. And with Eileen, the goal is to hopefully make it easier for other brands as they hopefully walk that path.
Right. I loved your story because I'm in that shoe right now. So when I learned about your app, I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to connect with him and learn about it because I'm learning that I'm going through those pain points that I didn't even anticipate having. So can you tell us what is Eileen and where did you come up with the name?
Yeah. So I'll start with what is Eileen.
Okay.
It's mainly, I think the easiest way to grasp it, it's like Uber for insights for
Mm-hmm.
brands. So we're trying to make it easier for brands to connect directly to stores where their products are sold. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the earliest issues that all of us face is that we don't have enough time in the day or bodies in the field to do what we need to do to execute in the store. Our
Mm-hmm.
goal is to break down that barrier and make it easier for brands of any size to tap into visibility and insights at the store level with actionable outcomes that help grow revenue, save money, increase facings, and make hopefully scaling a much less painful process. And then
Mm-hmm.
the name Eileen, honestly, it came from back and forth ideation with some friends. Some bad ideas turned into a general theme of, well, how do you make managing a product in an aisle a little easier or leaner?
Mm-hmm.
And so it just kind of clicked with me. I was like, whoa, the name Eileen seems like it would be a good combination and subtle nod to what we do, which is, lean management of your brand in the
Mm-hmm.
store level. And at the same time, we have obviously a consumer app as well as the
Right.
B2B side SaaS platform. And one of my goals was to make this user friendly for both
Right.
sides and feel like it's a friend, not a tool or some type of broker service or merchandiser. We want it to seem
Right.
like I'm connecting with a friend who's helping me get this information so I can build my business more efficiently and faster.
Right. And I think that most people who are just like in the beginning stages of entering like a CPG business, they don't realize how important data is, and they don't realize how hard it is to get data. I mean, I'm like 5 years in, and I'm like still scrapping around with for resources to get data, because data at the end of the day is very expensive, but really, really important. And so my friends who are not in this industry, they're shocked. I'm like, I really don't know how much I sell in which stores. Like sometimes I can ask the retailers and it's up to them if they'll provide it to me. And a lot of them do. Not all of them are set up for that, but data is so hard to get your hands on because it's so expensive,
Yeah.
and not attainable for kind of the beginning stages of brands. And so can you tell me a little bit about, I know there's two sides. So let's start with the pain points of the brands. Like for example, I'm just last year I got into Unify, which is a large distributor, and now I'm beyond like the independent stores, right, in San
Yeah.
Diego and LA and whatnot. So now, before I just thought, hey, I got into Bristol Farms, Mother's Market. It's great. My product should be on the shelf. It should be at the right price. Um, and I didn't think anything of it. So
Yeah.
tell us, which is not the case. So tell us, what are some of the issues that brands face especially once they're in like a larger, uh, retailer and they're expanding in foot traffic?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting. Like the CPG graveyard is full of shoulds in my mind.
Hmm.
Like it should be there. This information says it should be on the shelf. You should have
Hmm.
these SKUs and this price. My sales should look like X, but the realism of retail is it's never like that. What we're trying to do is uncover that for you. So when my personal experience with growing grounds and hounds, um, I would walk into a store. You're supposed to have 9 different SKUs or facings of coffee. I
Hmm.
would walk in, and it would be 9 facings of the same coffee, and
Oh, I
all of
see.
your top sellers had already been gone. Or you would walk in, and the price point should be $14.99, and it's $18.99, and you're
Right,
$3 or $4 more expensive than the products in your category. And
right,
it's all supposed to be what you expect, but the realism is you can't ever fully manage a product without physically seeing what's happening at the ground level. And
right.
even if you get data, which you had mentioned is very difficult, and if you can get it, you might be getting sales velocity reports.
Yes,
That's nice, but it doesn't tell you why. So you get
right,
the outcome. That's your symptom. It's like, okay, well, for some reason these two SKUs are selling really well and these two aren't at all. Do you even know if those two SKUs are on the shelf right now? Have they been sold out for three
right,
weeks, 4 weeks? So maybe your best sellers are gone, but the retailer waits to reorder all of it at once. And
right.
because of that, you now have your two lesser selling SKUs. And for me, let's say coffee in my space, like a dark roast. Your dark
Hmm.
roast sells out first. The dark roast drinker is not going to wait for 3 weeks to get a new bag. They're going to buy your competitor. You
Right,
just lost sales, but your other products are just sitting there waiting. And then suddenly you have 3 facings of your light roast that people aren't buying as rapidly. So what we're trying to provide is that real, like tangible, hands on the shelf, boots on the ground approach of I can see my products and
right,
make sense of the data, but then also make actionable and intelligent decisions of what to do. So is there a problem store? Is there a problem chain? Is it my distributor? Is there a distributor region that's not as good as the others? You start to kind of identify problem spots and hotspots. And for brands like Wynn's Kitchen, all the way up to brands like Bacardi Rum, they need
yes,
information that you can't derive purely from data. And
right,
that's still at the end of the day, I think the black box we dealt with. And it's essentially what we're trying to do is give you that connectivity of, what if you could manage every store like it's those first 10 when you used to walk in and hand sell it and you would hand stock the shelf for them and you would
right.
know exactly what's happening and you're like, this is great. Scale comes with the pain that you can't do that anymore.
I was just going to say, everyone's so excited about growing and scaling and expanding, but with it comes a lot of new challenges. And I mean, even for me, like I would say predominantly, I'm only in Southern California right now
Mhm.
for like the large chains, and already it's like, wow, like I haven't made it out to Santa Barbara. We just physically can't be in all those locations.
Yeah.
And, even asking a friend like, hey, I know so and so now lives in Santa Barbara. Can you swing by Lazy Acres? But they're like, oh yeah, sure, but they don't see it as a business. They're like, oh, it's Wynn sauce, and they'll buy it. but the information, can you tell me a little bit about what are the information that brands usually need to get to, like, what questions are brands asking their shoppers to get for them?
Yeah, and this is kind of on the other side, similar to the data discussion a few minutes ago. You can get a lot of data. A lot of data exists in a lot of different formats for a lot of purposes, and most of it for brands under 200 million is
Mm-hmm.
not useful. It's
Right.
it's data that you get sold, but not data you need. So what we're
Right.
trying to focus on is very, very specifically data that's valuable to the brand and can actually lead to growth and execution. Um, so you can get, let's say, marketing data. I could see what's happening at the category level. I
Mm-hmm.
can see at the macro how many facings I have. I can do a pricing analysis. That's all nice. But what
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to do is how many stores are missing SKUs entirely that are supposed to
Yes.
be there? What's if it's on sale? Is the price tag out, or am I wasting promo dollars?
Yes.
Is it a new distribution? And is if yes, how long did it take for that product to actually hit the shelf? Because that's going to impact what my velocity is for the whole reset promo period.
Yes.
And if I missed a month and I'm 1/6 of this period down, it's gonna be hard to make that up when they come in for review time. So
Right.
everything we do is really based off of actionable sales driving activities at this point. So we're adding more features in the future that will let you do the more macro marketing analysis. But for now, we're very focused on inventory. What's on the shelf? How many units it's being hand counts? Can we get like an
Right.
accurate picture of what's there? We're giving you some information about placements. So are you mid, low, high part of the shelf? What's your goal? Do you want to be eye level? Do you want to be top shelf,
Right.
bottom? So we're capturing where you are in that store. We're getting information about your competitors so you can see what's happening from a photo standpoint. You can see what's on sale, who's adjacent to you. Are there new entrants in the market? Has someone taken a couple of your slots because they have somebody that goes in once a week and you don't? So
Right.
we're letting you kind of take that. And in our mind, the early version of Eileen is to be essentially your best sales, let's say your best sales manager for tens of thousands of stores at a time. And
Right.
that's kind of the initial data we want to provide back to you is, that like really quick snapshot moment in time. Here's what that store looked like at this time and this date. And here's what you essentially need to either address or it's fine. And
Right.
that's kind of what we're providing to brands before we get into the really complex, more marketing focused information. It's really just like, when do you have all 5 SKUs on the shelf? Do they seem to be merchandised properly? Do you have the right price points up? And if not, what's wrong? Address that, fix it, cut down an out of stock from 3 weeks to 5 days and pick up those
Right.
20 days of sales.
And I mean, it sounds like simple information, but those are really impactful. Especially, between last year and this year, I've grown in the retail channel so much that it's like I'm learning how to do promos, and then all of a sudden I find out, oh, well, both sauces are supposed to be on promos, but there's only a tag for one sauce and not the other.
Yeah.
And or one of the stores is still showing the old distributor, so then it's like, there's a little delay in reordering.
Yeah.
Or, and for me, my favorites, if I only see one jar, I pick up the phone, I call the buyer and be like, hey, it's Wynn. I
Yeah.
notice there's only one jar. So these are like immediate actions. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize, I'll order right now. So that's like, pulling from the inventory, and it runs the risk of, it helps the risk of running out of product, because
Yeah. Yeah.
it sounds great when it's sold out until there's no product for people to buy for your bestseller, right? Like you
Yeah.
mentioned.
Or
So
even if you're on promo, let's say, and it's 4 or 5 days in advance, do you have enough product to make it count? Or is there
yes,
one or two units and you say, okay, I have a 4 week promo. I'm using this bi-monthly promo schedule to drive velocity in this chain because I want to expand and prove that, we're a good brand and a good fit. But you go in and there are two jars left. Your promo starts, those sell out the second day. No one reorders, and then you miss an entire promo. So it's like, well, what was the point?
absolutely.
I'm not on sale next
Absolutely.
month.
Right. And so, okay, so now let's talk about the shopper side. How are we getting shoppers, and who are these shoppers that are going out and about and you know taking
Yeah.
photos and gathering information for us?
So right now it is iPhone only for the shoppers.
Okay.
So for the
Okay.
time being, it's iPhone only. We're getting a lot of shoppers through word of mouth and just organic communication in the market.
Hmm.
We're focused on specific markets right now, so very heavily focused on Illinois and Southern California. Uh,
Okay.
we have a couple thousand shoppers around the country who have signed up and started using the app, but those are the key regions. Um,
Right.
they're actual shoppers. I think that's the difference for us too. These are
Okay.
people who are just walking into their local store. The goal there is for them to do this not as much like a gig job, but more of a game for them to play
Right.
when they go to their local stores. So what you're also getting from our product that I think a gig centric app wouldn't give you is you're getting an experience and a viewpoint from somebody that actually shops in the store.
Right.
So I always take that as like, well, if they are having trouble finding it, then a shopper is going to have trouble finding it, or their
Right.
perspective of this product is going to show you what the actual shopper see, not somebody went in, they fixed up the shelf, they made it look nice, they reset the product and took a picture. You're going to walk in and be like, well, why the hell are all these other products in my area, and why do I have everything stacked up in a corner, or I'm
Right.
behind some kind of weird display hanging down over top of my product? You get to see what the shopper sees from our standpoint, and I think that's a really powerful element where you can say like, well, yeah, this is a data aggregation and action item platform, but these are actual shoppers, and you're getting the perspective of, okay, this is a shopper that might walk in and be very confused by something about my product.
Right.
How do I fix that? How do I make it easier? How do I make it more visible? That's the stuff that you get with our organic shopper network. And then, yeah, I think it's something where we do have people who are out there making some money, which is great. I mean, you can walk into a store and let's say we have 4 or 5, 6 rewards available in your local grocery store. You can make $30, $40 while you're grocery
Yeah.
shopping, offset your bill, buy that bottle of wine, whatever it is. You kind of are able to leverage this as a tool for, we can call it super couponing. But
Yeah.
realistically, it's just an easy way for anybody to make some side money, not necessarily
Hmm.
someone that would be like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do Uber. I would do it personally. I walk into my local wine shop and I do this all the time for some brand,
Right.
and it takes me 5 minutes. You make $20, and it's just kind of like no additional stress in your day.
Right. I signed up as a shopper. So when I
There we go.
learned about it, I was like, oh, I wanted to see what it was like on, from the shopper side and what information. So um, I love how easy it is to use, and I think it's kind of fun. Like it's kind of like finding that Pokemon game back in the
Exactly.
day.
Yeah.
That was like really fun.
Pokemon Go.
So, and I'm always in a grocery store, always looking for at new products anyway. So I'm like, oh, just give it a try. So tell us a little bit about how it works. Like say from a shopper, like say if I go to LA this weekend and I open the shop, like how do I know where the rewards are and what does each reward mean?
Yeah, maybe this is a good part of being so new as a company. There aren't too many places to get lost in the app.
Okay.
It's very streamlined right
Uh-huh.
now. There aren't a lot of bells and whistles outside of the core product that we're offering. So when you sign in, the sign up's very easy. It's simple. 21 and over to sign up, but you get in there, enter your info, and you're pretty much up and running within about a minute of downloading
Mm-hmm.
the first thing you'll see is our rewards feed. So it is geolocated. So you have to say, yes, I'll allow you to use location. That's purely
Mm-hmm.
just to let you find stores that are in your area that have
Right.
rewards. It's populated nearest to furthest, but you'll be able to go and sort it. So if you want to see extra, let's say the stores that have extra rewards versus one, you can do that. But it's very simple. Once you find a store that you're nearby, or if it's your local shop, you have to be within about 100 meters of the front door. And as soon as you
Right.
get close enough to the store, you can activate a reward. Then you
I
have
see.
10 to 15 minutes where you can go in, find the product, take a photo, scan the UPC of the products, count, enter in some very basic info, and then
Mm-hmm.
you hit submit. And that's it. So typically a task, let's say, or a full reward submission for one brand takes a shopper usually in the range of 90 seconds right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that could earn you $5. So let's say you do that, like
Right.
you're making more money per hour than a lawyer at that rate. So
Right.
it's a pretty easy thing to do. But the whole thing for the shopper and our goal was to make it feel user friendly for anybody. not your
Right.
gig worker, not somebody that's a professional, sales merchandiser. The whole
Right.
idea was to make it super simple for a general consumer. And then and to get paid, you link your bank through Stripe
Mm-hmm.
Connect. So secure. It happens outside. It happens outside the app with a third-party fintech company. Obviously, Stripe, very reputable and big
Yep.
business. Money shows up in your bank account within usually a couple days, and it's very turnkey and easy to use. So the whole thing is supposed to be seamless. It's supposed to be easy for anybody. I designed it so my mom could use it. Honestly, it was part of the test. Was like, can my mom go out there and do this
That's
without me having to
awesome.
hold her hand?
Mm-hmm.
And she could. And so I was like, all right, good. We're on to something here. And yeah, the Gen Z kids are they can go out and do 20 of them
Oh,
in no time. So we're finding it's definitely designed to be usable. And then there is, like you said, like a Pokemon Go element to it. Once you get in
yeah.
there, you walk around, there's a little bit of a dopamine hit when you find the right product, kind of like a status. Oh, cool. Got it. So yeah, it's designed to be fun. It's supposed to be something that's like gamified shopping. And in
Mm-hmm.
the future, we want to make it even more like that. So it's not just this type of task, but it's things that help you engage with brands while you shop more actively.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. And so, for example, just so other brands who are listening know, like for example, if like say I'm gonna do a lemongrass, which is a new SKU launch through Bristol Farms. I'm waiting for confirmation for it to land in a couple stores, and then I'm like, okay, now I want to put out the reward, get all my Eileen shoppers out there to make sure it's there and all the good stuff. Um, each store, would that be like one reward? Like, do I set so then that way we're not having like five shoppers going to the same store,
Yeah.
or how does that work? Okay.
Yeah, so it's all designed so only one reward can be captured by one shopper.
Okay.
So it is 1-to-1. So there's we designed it very much so like we didn't have shoppers fighting each other over the same reward. So it's designed
Yes.
so once you claim it, no one else can claim it. Once it's complete and approved, it's gone, and then
Okay.
goes back to your platform as a brand. So you see it usually we usually get everything approved within an hour, so it comes through very quickly. So as we're
Awesome.
seeing it, you're seeing it. We vet the products and photos to make sure it looks like it's accurate, looks pretty, responsibly taken. You get
Hmm.
that info. But for, let's say, all Bristol Farms, I think there's something like 23 now.
Uh,
You
yeah. No, I
roughly
think I think about 15, and they're
15.
opening some new ones. Yes.
So
Yes.
so for 15, what we would do is say, okay, you want to check the new lemongrass starting May 28th. Let's just assume
Hmm.
it's there May 28th. You would just let us know. We're building the platform so you can do all this by yourself, but for now there is a
Hmm.
bit of engagement with us. We would deploy those rewards in each store, and then as
Right.
they get finished, they're just removed out. They come back to you, and if you said, great, this is perfect, but for some reason 7 stores were missing the product when it was checked and it was supposed to be there, what we'll say is, okay, well, make sure you follow up, have the buyers confirm that the product's out. And
I
then we
see.
can do another check and say, okay, here's your second confirmation that there is indeed the product out there. But those 5 stores historically might take, 2 or 3 weeks to ever even know that it's not there. And so again,
Right.
that's where you miss that full month. So it's very easy. You can do it at scale. We have brands that do it for 200, 300 stores at a time. We have brands that do it for
Right.
2 stores at a time. And so it's
Right.
really designed to be flexible based off of your needs. And you're not committing to checking Bristol Farms every 2 weeks forever. You're doing it once.
Right.
And then if you decide, yeah, I would like to see all of them once a quarter, you could set
Right.
that up to just happen and automate it so you can just get that anytime on a recurring basis.
Okay, I love that. I think this is huge. I mean, I love that I think, you still remember, even though you successfully exited from the coffee business, that you still remember the early pain points of growing it. Because sometimes I learn about a new product or service, and the barrier to entry is just so astronomical.
Yeah.
That there's no way. There's just absolutely no way, where I think that you really are trying to help the brands grow, like from the beginning. I mean, like you said, it started out with, hey, I got onto one shelf, then it's like three, and then it's five, and then going from five to 300, it's like a whole nother ball game and other pain points. But it doesn't necessarily mean cash flow is
No,
more than when you only have five stores.
usually far worse at that point.
Yeah. So I love that you're being flexible and helping people grow. And I tell other brands that are starting out all the time, like, don't be obsessed with like, oh my gosh, my next store is I want to get into Erewhon and Whole Foods. Be successful in the five stores that you are in, and but even then still a lot of work to drive around San Diego and look at all five six stores, right, or whatever city you're in. So having a flexibility like that, like, hey, I only want um these four stores are far from me, but I want to keep an eye on them, and then that way build a relationship with those buyers and retailers
Yeah.
is really important from the beginning.
And I'm sure you're starting to see this, but as you pick up more distribution, one of the things that often happens is, let's say you do pick up Sprouts, or
Right.
you go to Expo West, and I met the buyer at so and so, and now we've got Wegmans across the country.
Yes.
You have one chance to succeed. So
Yes.
that's the part, that first sale is nice. Okay, great, got an
Right.
EPC, sending a bunch of product. By the time it hits the shelf, how many little things are taken out of the margin just so you had to
Yes.
pay for? Plus, you're not going to get that cash for 90
One.
days.
Yes.
Then it's on the shelf. And hopefully at that point, someone goes and puts that product onto the actual shelf instead of just leaving it in the back room.
Right.
And you have usually, let's say, 6 to 12 months, depending on the retailer, to prove velocity. And golden numbers, usually 2 SKUs per store per week.
Yeah.
And if you miss that, then you might have spent product on free placements, or maybe it's a
Yes.
BOGO to get it, or your slotting fee, plus all this money you spent with this distributor and cost to get set up, first
Yes.
time shipments. And then at the end of the day, you get discontinued, and you're not getting back in there in the near future. And you
Wow.
lost money. And then you have product in the distributor who they're saying, well, we've got this old product you're going to have to take back because we didn't use it. We thought we would need all this extra stuff. And
Right.
what seems great in the very beginning becomes the worst thing that could happen to you. So what we want to do is make that scaling process less uncertain. So we can't sell the product for you. You have to get the cut, and that's what you should be
Yeah.
spending your time on as a
Yes.
brand, is customer acquisition, in-store strategy. How am I going to make this product, when you shouldn't have to drive around and check stores? You shouldn't have to go, oh, I'll fly to New York and see how many Wegmans I can check to make sure it's there and how many people I should ask. This should be the foundational, like, let's say almost like an insurance policy. Okay, I just got a $75,000 order. I can spend a few grand to make sure it's there. I mean,
Right.
the bare minimum of all the other things I'm doing, the only thing that matters is it on the shelf and can people buy it?
Yes.
Otherwise, everything else was to make everyone else money except for you.
Right.
And so I think what we're always trying to do with the brand, and from my experience, is like, I want the power to be back into the hands of the creators, which are the brand people.
Right.
And that's always the design here. So it's to let the brand succeed and win, not to have to pay 95 different people between you and the shelf. And even if you succeed, you go, that was nice. Now I'm out of all this cash because it's tied up in product. Plus I've paid all these fees, and they want to do scan backs, and all I'm doing is throwing money away. And it took 3 years to pay back that new distribution. And
Right.
I only lasted a year. Therefore, I just lost 2 years worth of margin on that product. And that's what breaks brands in the CPG space.
Yes.
And essentially, our minds, something that could be not fully preventable because there's a level of success with the product, but it's very preventable from an execution and sales operations standpoint of, I just need to make sure the basics are being accomplished, but I don't need to
Right.
pay $50 or $100 per store to do that through a merchandiser, or, waste a bunch of money on just scan back promos, whatever you name it. This is something where you can actively manage product and be more efficient.
Right. No, I love that. I think it's so helpful. And I'm excited to use it. So I'm just in the onboarding process now. And so can you tell us about, when did this start? And you know, where is Eileen today? And where is it going to be by the end of the year?
Yeah, so it's only been about a year.
Hmm.
So I guess about 4 months were planning, ideation, getting my co-founder to join,
Amazing.
and
Hmm.
so it was, again, like, it's funny. Everything takes longer than you expect, and it's more expensive than you expect. But that's now, this is my second go around with the company, so I kind of had that in mind. But I've never built a tech platform before, so not very much a novice. It was all
Yes.
foreign to me, other than just general, like, research. So brought in people who are technically talented,
Mm-hmm.
leveraged my background with the industries to know what to do and how to build it. Started with an offshore development team overseas in
Wow.
Pakistan to build the basic MVP product. Then we brought in an internal software engineer. So it's been a year of that, of iteration and ideation. And we finally kind of came out of what we'll call beta in March.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a really nice
Wow.
successful beta test.
Congratulations. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, we did a pre-seed raise to kind of get this thing going. Started getting paying customers in April, so that started happening pretty quickly, which was great.
That's just
And
last month.
yeah, I know it's funny. It seems so long ago in my mind. I'm like, oh, I
I'm
remember
like,
that
that's
way.
just last month.
Yeah, back when I was excited about that first paying customer. But but yeah, it's been a really quick evolution ever since we got past this like beta test period, and we brought in our big first hire was our head of software engineering. So he's been in house now, just revising, iterating, and building out new features daily.
Right.
Um, so now the product is fully up and running. You'll see when you get in there, it's now like early on we would say it was more view only. It was like here's a
Yeah.
now it's more interactive. It's more like an actual software platform. New features are being added to let you quickly share and communicate this information externally. So if you need to send
Mm-hmm.
5 stores to a distributor rep or to a buyer, you can do it
Mm-hmm.
right in the platform with a click of a button. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Down the road, I think we're really ramping up. So from a business standpoint, we're starting to get more focused on our next raise, which is our seed round coming in probably September, October.
Mm-hmm.
With that, we'll move from what we call MVBP, so minimum viable business product is the ideation. So it works, but we're still trying to fine tune the features, how we
Right.
can deliver more value. So brands like Wynn's Kitchen who join, we're always asking questions, probably more than providing services. Like, what do you need? What do we miss?
Right.
That's going to help us build this by the end of the year. I feel very confident that we'll have a pretty reliable V1 go to market product live. We already have a lot of activity, as I mentioned, in Chicago. We have a
Right.
lot in Los Angeles and Orange County, working our way further south. New York through Connecticut's very active as well. So those marketplaces are getting going more and more steadily. And the goal there is by the end that I would love to have by, let's say, December, a few very stable markets. So any brand in any category in any of our stores can sign up, get going, and get feedback within 24 hours from any store within, let's say, 100 miles of Los Angeles. So that'll be the first kind of iteration of this is how fast can we make this almost on demand information.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but then, obviously it's a long process of making products better, finding things that are wrong, finding weaknesses, that integrating image recognition and AI into it. So there's
Right.
lot to do, but I think by the end of this year, I mean, compared to where we were last year,
Yeah.
it'll be a drastically better product.
That's awesome. I mean, like going in to the app with what like just like exploring it a little bit. I mean, I think it's amazing. I think it's
Right?
like so user friendly. It definitely doesn't seem like it just launched like last month.
Yeah.
So,
It was built with the thing. I think
mm,
this is probably the helpful part of me not being a true tech background.
yeah,
It's not engineered to be an
right.
engineered product. It's designed to be usable to your junior employee, to a
Yes.
one person shop trying to manage 1,000 stores.
Yes.
Things. It's all based off of very transparently what I would want. This
Exactly.
is what I would if I'm in a rush, but I need to figure out what's happening in Safeway or Wegmans or Joel Osco.
Right.
I don't want to have to bring in a data scientist to do it. I just want to get in there, get
Exactly.
the answers, do it, and get back to work. So that's how it's all being designed. It's supposed to be very minimalist, but give you everything you need to succeed.
Exactly, exactly. And so can you share with us what large retailers are set up on the platform now? And for example, like if I sign up and I say, okay, I want to have shoppers at this particular retailer, but you have not signed them up. Like, what does that process look
So the good thing with our platform is we're what we call retailer agnostic. We don't just work with a couple banner stores.
Mm-hmm.
We focus more off of either what our brands need or
Mm-hmm.
within a geography of where our shoppers are. So
Yeah.
since we're using actual shoppers, they could walk into Vicente Foods in Brentwood just as easily as they could walk into Target on Wilshire in Brentwood. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's no difference to us as long as we have shoppers active in the market. Then stores that are in that area are in essence an
Mm-hmm.
option. If you came in and you said, "Well, this is great. I just launched in, I don't know, let's call it Harris Teeter in Atlanta,
Yeah.
and I don't have anybody out there." We can usually, especially if it's in a metropolitan area, the more rural
Mm-hmm.
areas are tough, but metropolitan areas, we can usually get shoppers active within a week. And
Okay.
typically, if it's a bunch of stores, it's pretty easy for us to then bring in a lot of shoppers, and
Mm-hmm.
then start the process. So I think one of our mutual contacts who started their first test with Eileen put it through a 54 chain store through New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey, which was not a focus market for us, but
Right.
we were able to pretty rapidly get shoppers even into some of the further out stores, and now it's
Mm-hmm.
cranking. So we are having four,
Wow.
five, six submissions a day come in from different retailers in that area. Uh, but yeah, it's a process where we just need to essentially spin up a market,
Yes.
and then once it's live, as long as we have brands who are interested in that area in particular, we can keep that activity going at a pretty high rate.
That's awesome. No, I mean, kudos to you for everything you've done and to venturing into tech. I mean, tech is tech is hard.
It is. It's different. It's
It's
different.
different. It's different.
I will.
Everything's hard. Everything's
Yeah,
hard, but it's
I'll
so
tell you.
different. Like,
I miss the CPG world for the creative opportunities where you could sit down and execute. And I knew how.
yeah,
The tech space requires a different process, but
yeah,
I have to say, like, the turmoil of being in CPG exclusively
yes.
is not any different than the
It
difficulties of tech.
it's just different.
They're
Yeah.
different. Yeah, it's saying I ran a marathon versus I swam a marathon. Like, they're both hard.
Yes.
It just
Yes.
depends which one you're doing at the time. And that's what I've noticed. It's everything's challenging, and the main trait that helps you in both sides is, are you gritty, and
Yes.
will you just stick with it and fight through those difficulties and have the mentality of, I'll solve this. It's a
Right.
solvable problem.
Right.
That's kind of the same thing that I carried into tech, where I was like, yeah, you know what? It's challenge. It's no different than things I didn't know when I was in the CPG space.
Right, right. No, well, I thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I mean, I was so fascinated by the app. I'm always in a grocery store, so I'll probably be a shopper just for as like a fun
Good.
little game when I'm in LA and Orange County doing like checking on my own stuff and doing
Sure.
demos. But I think it's such a great way and it came at a great opportunity because I'm, expanding and growing and I've been feeling the pain points of, my gosh, I like, did that land yet? Or when is that lemongrass coming? Or
Yeah.
are this, I'm doing promos, like, are there sale signs at Mother's Market? And getting through calling is not as easy as people think. Like,
No.
sometimes I get from one store, it'll take me about 35 minutes because the line gets disconnected 10 times.
Oh yeah. I've been there. I,
I'm
I
like,
have been there
I'm
more
like,
than
all right, I'm done. I got to move on to the
yeah.
next store. And so I'm really excited to use this app more than anything as a brand.
Yeah.
So thank you for heading into the tech world and bringing all the pains of CPG to kind of help us continue to grow. So I'm really excited about it. Any last minute advice for everyone that's in CPG, kind of whether they're beginning or expanding, or there's such a wide range of 100,000 to 500 million, but I feel like
Yeah.
the pain's all the same.
I think the key is always focus on your product. Make a great product. Don't forget the business, but focus on the product. And you can't get caught up in what's happening around you, because you
Yes.
always hear the stories of, oh, so and so just sold for $1 billion. Everybody has their own unique path
Right.
And there's I think an organic size that a brand should be. And a
Right.
lot of times you'll force it to be inorganically big. And it doesn't help
Right.
you. It just moves you faster to the edge of the cliff.
Right.
So I would always say stay within yourself of what you're doing, and it'll
Right.
be the right size. Eventually, it takes if you look at some of the biggest brands, it takes 50 years that we weren't alive. It was 1830 to 1880, but it
Yeah.
took them 50 years to get big enough to be a big brand. We all want
Yes.
it immediately now because of social media and because a celebrity did this.
Absolutely.
And I
Yeah.
say just make a great product, have fun. I mean, you're still not
Yeah.
working for somebody else, and that's always great.
Right.
And you're hopefully making something you love, and that was why you started it. And if
Right.
you do a good enough job at that, the rest will take care of itself.
That's huge advice, and my mantra this past year is just like, okay, just focus on what I'm doing. Everyone has, we really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Like, do they have like a family of 20 doing all demos for that that we don't
Yeah,
know about?
yeah,
Like, we can only control what we can control. So
yeah.
thank you so much for that advice. And we'll leave on that. And I look forward to working with Eileen and seeing it grow. So thanks so much, Jordan.
Thank you.